Devin White has requested a trade. Devin White, Pro Bowler, second team All-Pro, Super Bowl champ of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at only 25 years old. Currently slated to play on his fifth-year option, $11 million for 2023, has requested a trade. And I believe it's because Tampa Bay does not want to pay him long-term. It's because he's been informed that this would be the last final year in Tampa Bay, and he wants to take advantage of moving to a new team, getting that contract a little bit sooner, and probably playing in a more competitive environment. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers post Tom Brady, at least for this year, are not going to be very competitive, even within that division. Devin White has been a vocal leader for that locker room over the past few years. He's huge for their leadership of that defense. He is the guy that gets everybody hyped up. He is the energy guy of the Tampa defense. As a football player, he's been a little bit of a roller coaster, to be honest with you. At times, he's elite. At times, he's the guy you saw in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs or the Saints divisional round game, where, wow, that's the best linebacker in football. Nobody's faster, nobody's quicker, nobody's more powerful in that package and that size and that speed. The ability to track down running backs in open space, blitz and get a sack, create pressure, cause a turnover, even drop back and get an interception. We've seen him do it all in the NFL through his first few years. But we've also seen some really lowlights from Devin White. We've seen he got tricked. There was a jet sweep. Oh, he bit on the play action. Guy went over top, and he gave up an easy 20-yard completion right down the seam. We've seen Devin White. He's too aggressive. He's over-aggressive. Now teams are taking advantage of that. And it feels like over the past 2 years, teams have studied Devin White, why he was so good, how Tampa used him, and he's just regressed because the film is out on Devin White. The ability to take advantage of his eyes and manipulate him into seeing something that he doesn't see, that's not actually there, that's on tape. But what's also on tape is a playmaker, a freakish linebacker that at his best can change a defense, and he's one of the few players with the skill to change a defense at a position that there are not a lot of game changers. And in a system where Devin White is simplified, and he's asked to play the run, get downhill, and he's also asked to blitz and play a bit of man coverage on running backs, because he can do all of that very well at a very high level. There are not a lot of linebackers that are as good sideline to sideline, as good at stuffing the run, as good at blitzing and pressuring quarterbacks as Devin White, and the stats speak for themselves in that regard. You just look at his Pro Football Reference, okay? 9 sacks in 2020. 9 for a middle linebacker. 3.5 sacks in 2021, 5.5 sacks in 2022, okay? He's had 6 forced fumbles throughout his career. He's only had 1 pick, so that's one of his weaknesses. Zone coverage to me and reading the offense and reading where receivers are going to be, that's one of his weaknesses. Tackles off the charts, right? 140 in 2020, 128 in 2021, 124 in 2022. Quarterback hits, 16, 18, 16, super elite numbers for a linebacker. Part of it is that he plays every snap. He's been very available as well. He doesn't miss many games at all, okay? That is a good thing. But his inconsistencies all over the map. So teams that are interested in him are going to want to study him and figure out if they can put him in their system and maximize his strengths and minimize his weaknesses. Because it feels like the last couple years in Tampa under Todd Bowles, the guy has sometimes checked out and not been available in terms of intensity and in terms of effort. There's been games where you watch it and you're like, what is he doing? Is he even trying? Like the Baltimore Ravens game last year was one of those games. But Again, if you can figure out how to motivate this guy, get him going, and then put him in a system that maximizes those strengths that we've seen in the NFL, he can be a game changer. So that's what makes him such an intriguing trade prospect. A guy that I'd be willing to trade for, but what's the asking price? What's the contract? Is he going to step in here? Is he going to motivate our team? Is he going to be a presence on the field? What's that going to look like? I'd have to meet with him, talk to him. Devin White's a guy I've always liked, but he's certainly been inconsistent throughout his career. The measurables are off the charts. So which teams do I believe fit the best? And what do I think he's going to garner in a trade? Now, personally, I don't think it's going to be much. Because, first of all, this season, he's making $11 million. That's good money for a linebacker, off-the-ball linebacker. That's good money. And I think a lot of teams are going to have different grades on Devin White. I think there's going to be some teams that see him as an elite player. I think there's going to be some teams that see him as a bad player because of the inconsistencies. I think there's some teams that are really going to like his attitude. And there's other teams that are going to think he's a little cocky and a little bit of a showboat. I think he's all over the map. So depending on your system, your scheme, and your style, you may love or hate Devin White. And you might choose to look at the positives or choose to look at the negatives. So I think he's going to get, at best, a third-round pick. At best. He's not getting a first. He's not getting a second. Okay? More than likely, given that you have to pay him, given the fact that he's been inconsistent, given the fact he's slumped the last couple of years on tape, maybe not statistically, he did peak to a level where you thought he was the best linebacker in football in 2020 during that playoff run, but he has slumped. So what is he going to get, a fourth, fifth, or sixth? That's more likely to me, given the contract, the situation, even though he's only 25, which is also a reason why he could be a steal. Because you're looking at a guy that's maybe not played his best football yet at a position where there's not a lot of guys that run like him and play like him. So he's interesting. And let's look at the landing spots for Devin White. Let me know your favorite in the comment section below. The possible teams to me, and I'm just going to go quickly through each one. The Houston Texans. DeMeco Ryans is a linebacker. He obviously will value this position coming from San Francisco where they had great linebackers. And Devin White has the speed, the athleticism to play in that scheme. Now, I will say that his blitzing and downhill ability would not exactly benefit from that system, as he would have to play more in zone, but his athleticism certainly would fit, and that position need would fit. The New England Patriots is one that I'm a Pats fan. I like Devin White. I'd certainly be excited if we traded for him, and we've needed speed at linebacker for years, okay? Like years. And Devin White, the biggest thing he'd bring to all these teams is speed. He makes your defense fast, instantly. That's what he does. Now, New England, they could utilize him very well because they like to play man coverage. Devin White could play on running backs a ton. They like to blitz their linebackers over the years. Dante Hightower, for example. Jamie Collins, for example. Those players put up high pressure numbers due to their scheme. Devin White would excel in that. Now, maybe he's a little bit smaller, but he's super powerful, super strong, so I wouldn't be worried about him fitting in that system. And he'd certainly bring a bravado and a big energy to this defense. The Detroit Lions, I think, make a lot of sense. I have them as my prediction, more for fun than anything else. I don't really know where he's going to go. I don't think anybody knows, other than potentially going back to Tampa Bay if they figure something out. But Detroit's a team that I think could use him because Aaron Glenn's defense, they want to play more man. They want to be aggressive. And by adding a linebacker with that type of speed, it would really shore up an area of major weakness. They need an athletic linebacker who can flow sideline to sideline, who's aggressive. He certainly has the bite the kneecaps off type of mentality when he's on his game, and he brings an energy that's unmatched at the linebacker position. So I think Detroit would really, really like him and get the most out of him in that environment. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been needing speed at linebacker and an upgrade at linebacker. They wanted Devin Bush to work out. Devin White is a better version of Devin Bush. The Buffalo Bills need to replace Tremaine Edmonds. Devin White in a win-now kind of city and place, I think that would be great for him. He's been there with Tampa Bay and he's won. The Minnesota Vikings make a lot of sense as a very good fit because of Brian Flores' scheme. Brian Flores is very aggressive. He loves to blitz. He loves for his linebackers to get downhill. That would maximize Devin White's greatest strengths. The Las Vegas Raiders play a similar defense to New England. It's a little bit more conservative, where you are asked to do more things in terms of zone and man, but I think they definitely need linebacker help, and he's basically a better version of Denzel Perryman, in my opinion. The Denver Broncos could use a linebacker on their defense with speed and athleticism. They don't currently really offer that right now. And Sean Payton is in win now mode with Russell Wilson. The Washington Commanders, Ron Rivera loves linebackers, so I could definitely see that being a fit. The New York Giants, another guy, that fits alongside the linebacker they brought in this offseason, Okereke. So I think that Devin White would make a lot of sense next to him, but in a different fashion, right? So he would be the guy that's blitzing and the aggressive guy that Don Martindale wants to send on those blitzes. And then the other guy is the coverage guy, okay? So the Philadelphia Eagles are a team that he's actually rumored to go to because he left an Instagram message on somebody's post about let's make it happen, Devin White to the Eagles. I don't see it really happening just because I don't think he fits the system, nor do I think the Eagles like to spend capital on the linebacker position. So I very much doubt it. They have to pay other people. But it would be very, very cool, at least for this season, maybe, right? If they want to make a move just for this year, then that does make sense. So my prediction is the Lions, bold prediction, the Vikings, because I do think the Vikings are in a weird spot. Like, they could really use a linebacker. They could really use speed on their defense. They're an older, slow defense. They need to get faster. So I think plugging in Devin White would make a lot of sense. And perhaps Brian Flores could mold him into a much better player all around and really teach him and tutor him. And I'm sure that Devin White would be accepting of that coaching. So that's intriguing to me. And I think that would be a maximize this player type deal. But I also think the Vikings are in this weird spot where are they trying to get younger? Are they trying to go for it? What are they trying to do? They're somewhere in the middle, so it's kind of difficult to figure that out. But those are my thoughts on Devin White, his landing spots, his destinations, and what I think currently of the player. I think he's a very, very solid player with the upside to be one of the best linebackers in football, but that's the thing with him. He's all over the map. From a personality standpoint a little bit, but more so from a play standpoint. And I really like the guy and the player, and I hope that he can get back to his level of play that we saw once upon a time in Tampa Bay. But it is sad to see that Tampa may be moving off of one of their key foundational pieces over the last couple of years and one of their leaders of their football team. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thank you so much for watching, and check out the rest of the channel and all the videos on the channel regarding NFL news and rumors. Peace!